And happy November and happy extra hour of sleep. You all look like you have a little extra smile on your face because you got that extra hour. If you're like me, you still woke up at the same time, but then you're like, I can actually lay here for like another hour and just waste time, right? And this is kind of nice. Like you just took it a nice, relaxing morning. All right, hey, month of November, we start a new trait of success. And so in a trait of success, this month we're going to be looking at the trait of success of thankfulness. And in these traits of success we're looking at during the year, they have a proven track record of actually bringing success to you spiritually and also in life. If you would learn to take these traits, so we have now looked at a growing faith, and then last month we looked at generosity. If you would take these traits, if you would learn to implement them into your life, they will bring success both with God and with men in your life. So we're going to be doing thankfulness in the month of November. If you have your cards, everybody should receive on these when you came in. If you did not, they will be out on the table all month long. Grab one. These are kind of like devotion cards. And to be honest with you, you cannot learn these traits. You cannot learn to implement them into your lives if all you do is come on Sunday and look at it on Sunday and think about it on Sunday, okay? So all year long, we have these cards that we'll develop monthly that you can use to help you learn the trait. On the front of this one, it just basically says this: what does thankfulness look like in your life? And I just wrote, developing the awareness to identify and see God's blessings and learn to be thankful for them. So having the eyes to see how God has blessed you and learning how to be thankful for it on a regular basis in your life. On the back, you have some things talking about that a little bit more, and you have scriptures to read. What I highly encourage you to do is this: if you haven't been doing this, or if you were and got off track, use these scriptures. Use like one a day that you read when you get up in the morning and focus on that, and take one a day and just use them all month long so you get familiar with those scriptures. They're not real long, but they focus you on the concept of thankfulness, and it gets it into your life on a daily basis. And that's what I would love more than you just coming here and listening to me talk for 20, 25 minutes on a Sunday morning. Continue to say, if you have children, it's a great way to start a devotion time with your kids, is before you put them to bed or something at night, get your family together and read one of the scriptures and talk about it as a family. Great way to be a spiritual leader to your children, which you are called to do by God, not the church. Okay, that is your God-given role as a parent, is to be the spiritual leader of your children. So these are just tools to help you do that. Today, what I'm going to do is this: I'm going to explain to you the fundamental key to learning how to live a life of thankfulness. If you can learn and you can accept this key in your life, it will literally transform how you view the events of your life on a daily basis. Now, this key you need to learn is very basic, and here's what it is. It's understanding and accepting that you aren't good, okay? That's the key to learning thankfulness, understanding and accepting that you aren't good. It's this belief that we are good that leads us to feeling entitled to good things in our lives, rather than learning to be thankful for the good things that we receive in our lives. If you look at your life, there are many things you take for granted on a daily basis because you feel entitled to them. Let me just give you some simple ones of things that I would assume all of us take for granted now because we just feel entitled to them. It's just, that's what we're supposed to have in life. Some simple things: water to drink. How many of you take water to drink for granted on a daily basis? You don't even think about it anymore. It's there. It's clean water. I just get out of the tap. I go to the bathroom in it. I shower in it. I have clean water. We take it for granted. Food to eat. We have food to eat all the time, every day, whether it's a lot or not much. You have food to eat and you have food in your belly. And a lot of times we take it for granted because we just feel entitled to it because we're Americans and it's a life we should live. Temperature-controlled environments. We take that for granted, do we not? Summertime, when it's 100 degrees here, we can go into any building, we can get in our cars, and we have air conditioning that makes it comfortable. We go home, it's comfortable. In wintertime, when it gets cold, we turn on our heat and it warms it up, and it's comfortable wherever we go, and we just have comfort, and we take it for granted because we believe we're just entitled to that, so we stop becoming thankful for it. Entertainment opportunities. Your TV, your mobile phones, your Netflix, your sporting events that you get to watch, the arts districts downtown, and so all the ways we entertain ourselves, we start to take for granted because we feel like we're just entitled to it because we're Americans, we're Tulsans, we're Oklahomans, we're entitled to these things. Last one, the freedom we live in. The freedom to get up and make your own decisions and make the life you want to make for yourself. We take it for granted. We feel entitled to it because we're Americans. It's what we've grown up in. That's what our country is about. It's freedom. And we take these things for granted. When we feel entitled to things, what happens is this: we neglect to be thankful for them when we should be thankful for them. We just start going, because I'm entitled, I don't need to thank anyone for them because they're mine, I deserve them. So, let me deal with this false mindset that we convince ourselves of, that we are good and we're entitled to a degree of good things in our lives. God does a pretty good job blowing up this false narrative we have in our lives in the scriptures. He gives us what this thing is called as the Old Testament law. If you read the Old Testament, Genesis through Zechariah, or Malachi, if you read the Old Testament, there's this thing called the law that's out there, okay? Most of you know the law by the Ten Commandments, but there's a lot more to it. But I want you to understand this. The law was given to the people of Israel not to save them. The law was given to them to help them identify sin in their life and how much they needed God, how would you say it? How they don't measure up to God's standard. So that was what the law was given. It wasn't given to, if I follow the law, it will save me. It was, here's the law, and it identifies for me how bad I am, how evil I am. In Romans chapter 7, the Apostle Paul, he writes this about the law. He says, in fact, it was the law that showed me my sin. So what Paul says, it wasn't the law that saved me. I know the law, and it's that identified all the sin in my life. It helped me to see how far I fall short of what God's desire for me is. Now, as I said before, the most common part of the law is the Ten Commandments. So what I'm going to do this morning to start things off, I'm going to walk through 9 of the Ten Commandments, because one of them is obey the Sabbath, which doesn't really apply to us anymore. It's not a law. That's a sinful thing if you do or not. But the rest of them you can see reiterated in the New Testament, and they're just common moral laws of God. And I'm going to go through them to help demonstrate how good we aren't. That we aren't really as good as we think we are. So, the first thing we have, if you go up on the screen, it says there, you see the number up here, 15,446 days. That's to help you calculate your sin, okay? That, as I stand here right now, is the number of days I have lived on this earth. Okay, 15,446 days. To give you an idea what that is, I am 42 years old. My birthday is July 23rd. So that kind of helps you understand. If you're a little bit younger than me, you can take some couple thousand off of there. If you're older than me, you can add some on. Some of you have the blessing, you can double it. And you can go, dude, I'm at like 30,892 days if you're double my age, okay? So here's the thing. We're going to walk through those. I'll explain to you, and since I'm your minister, I will tell you the best I could come up with how many times I think I've probably sinned in these areas, and then you calculate on your own how many times you think you have. All right, so here we go. The 9 commandments we're going to look at. The first one, and I'm putting them in our terms rather than how you just hear them in the scriptures to help you get a better understanding of them. The first one would be this: relying on no one other than God. Okay? So relying on no one other than, basically don't have any other gods before me, means don't rely on anyone other than God. So I started to look at my life, and I calculated probably on average 2 times a day throughout my life, I rely on other things other than God, most of the time me, in areas that I should probably rely on God, but I just choose to take control myself and do it. So I'll say on the conservative side, 2 times a day, so that puts me right there at 31,000 times I've offended that law, okay? Here's the next one. Worship no one other than God. So basically, you know it as don't have idols, but don't worship anyone other than God. Looking at my life, I figured out probably every 3rd day, if I look at the scope of my 42 years, every 3rd day I probably worship someone other than God, whether that's money, whether it's people, whether it's different scenarios, whether it's sports. I worshiped other things that were the way I was going to find satisfaction and purpose in my life. There's something other than God. Okay? So you add that up, that's 5,100 for me. All right? Next one. Don't minimize God's power and his influence. You know this law as don't take the Lord's name in vain. Really, if you look at what that means, it means you're basically minimizing God and his influence in this world by kind of just using his name and throwing it out there in a way that has no impact. So I started looking at myself there going, minimizing that one. I put on there once every week. All right, so that one puts me at 2,200 times I've offended that one. Next one, honor your parents. okay? Honor your parents. Respect your parents, do what they do. Honor your parents. The way I calculated this one, I figured at least 3 times a day through the age of 18, okay? And my mom's probably going, that's a conservative. Would that be a conservative amount? Okay. There were years, good years, bad years, really bad years. Okay, so I took an average of 3 times a day till I was 18 years old. So right there, we're at 20,000. Since 18, I've done nothing but honor them and been the most respectful son you could ever have. So just saying, all right? Here we go. Next one. Do not murder. All right? Where is it? It's 0. Okay? Got that one as a 0. I've succeeded at that one. Do not murder. I'm at 0 at that one. All right, next one would be this. Don't have sex outside of marriage. You know it as don't commit adultery, but be honest with you, when it says don't have adultery, any sex outside of your marriage relationship is adultery, whether you're not married yet or haven't been married, whatever, however you want to look at using sex in an abusive way outside of the confines of how God designed it within marriage. For me on this one, I'm a 0, so I succeeded at that one too, a miracle of God somehow, but I did since I wasn't a Christian for a lot of those core years of my life. Hey, and I was sexy back then too. It wasn't because of that. Right? Okay, sorry, I'm not supposed to say that. Okay, but anyways, I slept with my wife on honeymoon night. It's the only person I've ever slept with, so I have a 0. I get to be proud of those 2. I haven't killed anyone, and I didn't use sex outside the way God intended. All right, next one is this. Don't lie. Oh, wait. Did I miss one? Oh, okay, don't steal. Okay, so don't steal. I was calculating up throughout my years. I'm going to go 150. Okay? When I worked at Pet Supply Plus, and this is on video now, so hopefully they don't come after me after like 20 years. When I worked there in high school, I stole a bunch of doggy toys like every night. I don't know why. I just started stealing doggy toys because they were the Looney Tune characters, so I would steal doggy toys. Don't ask why. I just did, all right? I was a different guy back then. Okay, here we go. So 150 for stealing. Next one is this. Don't lie about another person or slander them. Okay? Don't lie. This is don't be a false witness. Don't lie about someone or slander them. I figured for this one, for me, I was just calculating, and be honest with you, this is probably one where there's a lot of fluctuations in here, just depending on who you are and what you're like and the sins we each deal with. I figured out probably 2,000 times I've blatantly lied about someone or slandered them throughout my 42 years of life. I'm just trying to figure out a number on that one, all right? Here's the next one, and the 9th one would be this. Don't covet what other people have and be content with what God has provided you. So don't covet means don't want their stuff, don't dwell on wanting their stuff, just be content with what God has given you. And I've figured and calculated on mine, I've done that probably at least once a day on average throughout the course of my 42 years. It could be higher, it could be lower, but I figured 15,000 on that one, okay? So for me, 15,000. Now, hopefully as I've been going through this, you've put some of your own numbers of different things, okay? But here is mine. Let's go to the next slide. My sin total on just those 9 areas for me, Scott Zerman, in 42 years, we're at 75,450. 75,450. Now remember, every single one of those is a slap in the face of the creator of the universe. When I use the word sin, what it means is God said, my creator, here's how I want you to live. And so far, just on 9 areas, 75,000 times I said, forget you. 75,000 times plus. And that's in 9 areas. So if we go all areas of my life, I don't even know how you calculate it. But just in 9 areas, 75,000 times. So I have a few questions for you to answer this morning. Okay? First one is this. Am I a good person? Am I a good person? Okay. According to God, there's no way I'm a good person. You know, the only way I can convince myself I'm a good person is if I can go find someone that has 120,000 right there on their total and look at them and go, dude, I've only got 75. I'm so good. You got 120,000. Can I be proud of 75? Dude, I've slapped God in the face just in 9 areas 75,000 times in my 42 years on this planet. In just 9 areas. And I know there's a heck of a lot more if I go into other areas of my life. Just 9 areas, 75. Am I a good person? Am I a good person? Thank you. That's what I was looking for. I needed a person saying, I suck. Thank you. All right? Here's the thing. Next question. Are you a good person? There you go. Thank you, Cynthia. Wow, we're turning this into quite the message today, all right? Here's what I want us to understand. Does God owe any of us anything good? If you are like me and you slapped the guy 75,000 times in the face, his creation, and said, I'm better than you, I'll do my own thing, leave me alone, I'm going to live life how I want, does he owe me anything good? No. He owes me nothing good. Now, let me give you a better idea of understanding this concept. We can look at that and go, oh, wow. Let me give you a better idea, because we look at that from the perspective of us and a holy God, and we can't understand that part of it. So we don't get the full grasp of this. So let me give you a better illustration. Throw the next slide up. Ant farms. How many of you owned an ant farm as a kid? Okay, I had one. My sons had one, except the one we bought, like, was it last Christmas we got one? Last Christmas, but we got 2 small of ants, so we put them all in there, and they're sugar ants, and they were smaller than the holes, so they were able to climb out, and then they climbed out all night. So then they ended up in a Ziploc bag, and my wife not real happy, and that didn't go over well. But it was a cool little thing, the ant farm. Here's what I want you to think about. You have an ant farm. You created it, and you took the eggs, and you took care of them, and you hatched them, and you hatched these eggs because they were sent in the mail to you, and you created this ant farm, and it hatched the eggs, and you created this little society of these ants. And what you can do is, in a little different scenario than reality, is you can actually communicate with them, and you can talk to them. Okay? So these ants you can talk to, you can communicate with, and you can have some type of a dialogue with. And here's what happens. You hatch them. They start your little ant farm, and you have them there, and you provide them water, you provide them food every day, and you drop it in there so they have their stuff for them. And what happens is there are times that you see things coming, and you see things that are going to harm them, that if they would go to the different side of the ant farm, they'd be protected, but if they hang out over here, they could get in trouble. And when you tell them that, they go, would you shut up and leave us alone? We know what we're doing. And there's other times that I don't put the water in there and the lettuce in there right at the time they want me to put it in there, and they stand up and they start screaming at me about how lazy I am and how I don't do my part and how I don't do my role and how I don't give them what they wanted because I was supposed to be there a minute ago and I was supposed to put it in there a minute ago. I'm a little thirsty. I'm a little hungry. Why didn't you give it to us? And they just mock me and they chew me out and tell me how awful I am and what a jerk I am and how I fail them and how I don't live up to their expectations. Okay? And then I walk by a little bit later and I see my dog coming for it and they're all playing with my dog. They're up against it and they're like, hey, nice dog. And they see this big dog and I'm letting them know I'm going to move the dog away because if the dog stays there, she's going to see you as food and she's going to eat you. And again, they start telling me what a moron I am and I don't understand anything about this world and how things work. And I'm a fool and I need to shut up and just walk away and let them play with the dog because they're entertaining themselves and they like it. And it's a little bit something out of place and it's nice for their day to shut up and get out of our face and leave us alone. So I decided to withdraw a little bit, and I don't talk to them. And the next day, because I've withdrawn, I didn't bring them food, and I didn't bring them water. And then they start yelling at me where I am and why I'm not there, and I need to get over here and give them their food and water because where are you? You're not providing what I asked you to provide. And I sit there and go, well, yesterday you told me to get away because you all hate me and I stink. And now you're telling me I'm supposed to be here and providing this stuff, and they're just irritated with me all the time, and I can never do anything right for them. After 3 days with your little ant farm, what would you be doing? Trashing it. Right? I wouldn't even just be trashing it. I'd be taking each ant out at a time with a magnifying glass and being like, you want to keep yelping? There we go. Okay, I did this a lot as a kid. I can do it to you now. And I would burn them. Okay, because I wouldn't put up with it. Stupid little ants trashing me, telling me I'm a fool when I'm the one that created you. I put you in a nice little home and I took care of you, and you're trashing me. I would have no tolerance for it. 3 days into it, I don't even know if I'd make it to 3 days. I'd be stomping on that thing, ending that experiment, being done with it. Understand, God knows how we feel. Let me read you a couple scriptures. From Genesis chapter 6, verse 5 and 7, it says this. The Lord observed the extent of human wickedness on the earth, and he saw that everything they thought or imagined was consistently and totally evil. So the Lord was sorry he ever made them, and he put them on the earth. It broke his heart. And the Lord said, I will wipe this human race I have created from the face of this earth, Yes, and I will destroy every living thing, all the people, the large animals, the small animals that scurry along the ground, and even the birds of the sky. I am sorry I ever made them. Then in chapter 7 it says this, everything after the flood, or when the flood started, everything that breathed and lived on dry land died. God wiped out every living thing on the earth, people, livestock, small animals that scurry along the ground, and birds of the sky. All were destroyed. The only people who survived were Noah and those in the boat. Okay? God knows what that feels like. He knows what it feels like to have some stupid idiot that's up on a stage slapping him in the face 75,000 times in 42 years. He knows what that feels like. And at one point, he just went, I'm done with it, and I'm starting over. And he starts over, and guess what? With the new group of people, we repeated the exact same thing. We just went back to the same pattern, the same habits, the exact same thing that we were doing before. Here's what the Apostle Paul writes in Romans chapter 3. He says this. This is New Testament, so he's describing post-flood. He says this, as the scripture says, no one is righteous, not even one. No one is truly wise. No one is seeking God. All have turned away. All have become useless. No one does good, not a single one. Their talk is foul like the stench from an open grave. Their tongues are filled with lies. Snake venom drips from their lips. Their mouths are full of cursing and bitterness. They rush to commit murder. Destruction and misery always follow them. They don't know where to find peace. They have no fear of God at all. Are any of us good? No. Okay? Do any of us deserve, or are any of us entitled to anything good from a holy God? No. Okay? That's where this is the bad part of the story. This is where this is depressing. But to understand the key to thankfulness and to live a life of thankfulness, you can't do it without first accepting that fact, which is simply you are not good. The question gets asked all the time, why does bad stuff happen to good people? I always remind people, there's no such thing as good people. The only way you define yourself as a good person is you find someone that has 120,000 sins when you only have 75,000, and then you con yourself into thinking, I'm a good person. No, in the face of God, you're not. None of us are good people. Now, here's where the story gets better. We don't deserve anything good. All we deserve is misery and destruction from a holy God, to be honest with you. With the amount of sins we have piled up on us and the way we treat him, that's what we deserve. Yet that is not what we receive all the time, or even most of the time, if you look at your life. That's not what we receive. And that is the key to learning to live a life of thankfulness. You see, learning to live a life of thankfulness isn't dependent on your circumstances, because if you look at your circumstances, they are almost all the time undeservedly good. All right? Learning to live a life of thankfulness is rather about your mindset, which is just simply looking at things that are undeserved blessings, recognizing them and learning to be thankful for them rather than feeling entitled to them. Let me just go through some things here to help you understand this mindset of thankfulness, which we're going to start practicing from here on out for the next month. Right now, you sit in nice, comfy chairs. Do you deserve that? Does God owe you that? You sit in a nice, comfy chair right now. They're pretty comfy. It's not a pew. We got rid of the pews they got rid of those 15, 16, 17 years ago. Thank God I wasn't part of that, okay? But now you get nice, comfy chairs to sit your butt in and feel comfortable. That's a blessing, is it not? Is that not a blessing? Okay. Right now in here, it's 72 to 73 degrees. Do you deserve to sit in a comfortable environment of 72, 73 degrees and feel comfortable right now? Are you entitled to that from God? Do you deserve that from God? No. You deserve misery. That's what you deserve. Okay, let me ask this one. If you drive home today and make it home safely to your house, do you deserve that? Do you deserve it? No, you don't. You know what that is? That's a blessing. You're behind being on a comfy seat right now. You know what that is? It's a blessing that you need to thank God for. Being in an environment right now at 72 to 73 degrees, right now, you know what that is? That's a blessing you don't deserve that you need to thank God for. When you go home today and you eat a meal for lunch, no matter what it is, whether you like it a lot or you don't like it a lot, do you deserve that? Do you deserve to have the comfort of that nice taste in your mouth and to fill your belly to get over your hunger need? Do you deserve it? What is it? It's a blessing, right? Okay, right now in this room, hopefully today before you leave church, you'll be surrounded by some people that will make you feel good about yourself, that you will feel like you have a common goal in life which is being a disciple of Christ, a follower of Christ. They hopefully will encourage you some, things like that. Do you deserve that? No? What is it? It's a blessing that you need to be thankful for. When you wake up in the morning and your kids aren't sick tomorrow morning, and you have children who are not sick, or they're not disabled, or they're not crippled, or they're not dealing with cancer, do you deserve that? Let me make it even tougher. Does your kid deserve that? No? So what is it? It's a blessing. Is it not? So many things in our life we can give thanks for to God and call them blessings, but we don't because we feel entitled to them and we take them for granted. If you would remember your sin total, and each one of those sin totals means each individual one of those sins is a slap in the face of God, and God doesn't just destroy you, but he lets you experience good things in life, or even just moderate, okay things in life, or just a regular day. A regular day is not something you shouldn't be thankful for. A regular day you should go, oh my God, thank you. It was just a regular day. I went through my routine and I didn't suffer at all. Even in our sufferings, are our sufferings really what we should really even get? No. Even in our suffering times, there's ways you can find they're a blessing. Okay, let me tell you the most incredible thing about God. God even takes our misery and he can take it and make something good out of it. So it's not even just you suffer, it's not even that you get good things, you call them blessing and things. God can even take horrible events in your life and you can give them to God, and God later on can use them in a way that you can find purpose in. And you go, how in the world do you do that for me, and why do you do that for me? And instead of looking at that event and cursing God, I look at those events in my life, and I thank God for them and go, you're an incredible God. And I'm so thankful. Okay? This month, we're going to work on thankfulness. And to be honest with you, if you would learn this trait, it would change your life. If you are someone that suffers from depression, if you learn to be a thankful person, it'll take care of your depression. If you learn to think the right way and accept and not feel entitled and that you deserve things and understand everything you have is a blessing from God that he deserves thanks for, and you just continually thank God for it. So this week we're going to start this practice. Here's what I want you to do. Is through this week, I want you to work on being thankful for everything. Big, small, whatever it is, I want you to be thankful for everything. No complaining, because really you have nothing to complain about, because the fact you're here and alive is a blessing from God because he hasn't just terminated you yet. Okay? Because of the grace of God, we are here, we get to live the lives we actually get to experience some good things. There are some positive things we can look at, and every one of those, even the moderate things, we can look at and go, thank you, God, for providing that for me. So this week, here's what I want you to do. When I say big or small, I want you to train yourself in a pattern this week to constantly, 100 times a day, be thanking God for every little thing that happens. Okay? When you sit yourself down on a comfortable chair, God, thank you for that. When you get up tomorrow, teenagers, and go to school, God, thank you for giving me a school that I can go get educated and get taught. Because there's a lot of people around this earth that don't get that, and I don't deserve it. I just happen to be born here, and I get this. As much as you hate school sometimes, it's a blessing from God that you can give him thanks for. When you go to work, and someone says a small little nice thing to you, sit down and go, God, thank you for that. I don't deserve that. Thank you. When at the end of the week you get a paycheck, no matter what it is, whether it gets small or big or whatever, when you get your paycheck, you don't deserve to get paid so you can continue living your life and buy things for yourself. It's a blessing from God. God, thank you. When you go upstairs at home, and for me, right now, my fingernails are slightly long because I'm OCD, so they drive me crazy, so I like them short. And I can go home and get some little clippers, and I'll take some time, and I'll just clip, 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 clip. Do I deserve that? No, that's just a comfort I like. I'll thank God. God, thank you I have clippers. Thank you I have the use of my hands to be able to clip those things off and I don't feel it. Small, big, whatever it is, be thankful. When you go home, how many of you have a pet? And you go home and your pet greets you at the door. Or you go get to have the pet on you, you get to pet them. Because if you have a cat, you know they're not greeting. You know they're going to sit there and wait for you to come to it and stroke it because it rules your house. You know how it is. Okay, but either way, you get to go pet that fluffy little cat and enjoy it. Do you deserve that? No, you don't deserve that. It's a blessing from God. Thank Him. Big or small, for an entire week, I want you about everything. Be thanking God in your head. Thank you, God. 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 For whatever it is, every time you purchase and get anything for yourself, gas, food, anything you get, a little coffee, thank God for it because you don't deserve it. Every time you get in a car and you don't have to walk to where you have to go to, thank God for it. And you know what? If you have to walk where you have to go to, thank God you have legs to do it because some people are paralyzed and can't. You don't deserve it, but you have it. Learn to thank God. Let me end with this. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 18, it says this. Be thankful in all circumstances. Is that not what I just told you? Be thankful in all circumstances, for this is God's what? Will for you. This is God's will for you who belong to Christ Jesus. God's will for you who belong to Christ Jesus is to be thankful for everything because you realize everything's a blessing from God because you deserve none of it because you have offended God so many times you can't even count it anymore, but yet He still gives you His love, His mercy, His grace, and He gives you enjoyment in a world where you don't deserve it. Would you pray with me? Heavenly Father,